Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Adam, 10th Man, Neil, a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello,
Hey, Sharibo.
Good to have you all.
What's up?
Hip hip cheerio.
Yeah, once everyone's
Howdy.
past regressing to the mid-2000s, we shall begin. Any evidence of a... Excuse me?
Why don't we welcome B, the new person that we hear?
B? Welcome,
Yes.
B. Good
Hi,
to have you.
sorry. Say again?
Name dropout. You're called B, correct?
Yes, it's Bahar, but feel free to call me B.
Good to have
Diversity
you.
hire.
Very nice to have you. Maybe you can join in on the
Affirmative act.
housekeeping. So I assume you're familiar with the show, so at the beginning we'll do a bit of housekeeping. Hopefully you can join in.
I'd love to.
Excellent. What should we pick? Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Hell no.
Not if you're using geometry, which a elevation angle is a triangle that has a flat leveled horizontal baseline that
Hello,
is not
guys.
curved.
Hey, Arwin. Any evidence
But
of
they
it?
claim.
Any
Hold on. They
evidence?
claim they're doing it using the sextant and doing celestial navigation.
Yeah, well, they'll be using a flat Earth then, won't they?
Yes, indeed.
The minute they mention angles, the globe dies.
Wonderful, isn't it?
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating
So
molten
quick.
iron core at the center of a presupposed spherical Earth?
You digged 7
I'll let you
miles
know.
and nothing came out what they predicted. So yeah, that should be solid evidence, right?
I mean, these two are going to be intrinsically linked from now on, thanks to Danny Faulkner. So if you haven't checked it out, there's a short video. It's only 2 or 3 minutes long, called, what's it called? Hell's Angles. Play on Hell's Angels, obviously, with a picture of a motorbike gas tank and Hell's Angles written on it. And when it's a Christian doing it in a church, talking about moving the angle that you measure off a flat plane to the center of a presupposed spherical Earth to use the equatorial plane, which is just a flat plane, and then measure angles from the equatorial plane in hell out through the sphere Earth you're no longer standing on, out to the celestial sphere. Well, that is, as just described, angles from hell if you're a Christian. Now, angles from the molten iron core is what it is if you're non-Christian. But ultimately speaking, you've still got angles from the center off a flat plane through a sphere that you're not standing on anymore. After you've measured the angles, and where did you measure the angles? On a flat plane. So the molten iron core question has now become intrinsically linked to any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. Because you have to measure it before you can transpose it to hell. If you're watching, please share the show. I'm reasonably confident we'll stay live, as I've technically, strictly speaking, been live for an hour and a half, just not actually broadcasting to anybody through the software. So everything was connected up all live and working, so I'm confident that it'll stay working as it has been for the last hour and 20 minutes. Anyway, please share the show, as we might actually get through a full one again. Third time's a charm. Or it'll all fail catastrophically and it'll be a waste of a share. But either way, please share the show. Okay, now 10th wanted to cover this particular video, which is a BBC video, in the pre-show, but due to noise from kids, I decided against it. Just a quick shout out to Tony Whitcomb before we do anything else. Says, be careful, people. Dave McKeegan has a lot of Twix up his sleeve. Oh, God.
That's never going to go away.
No, it
I
isn't.
thought, hold on, I thought Twix were for kids.
That's a good one.
So, but I'm more than
Getting
happy.
a little bit cool though, isn't it now?
Bit cool.
Stop quieting if you carry on doing this, yeah. Quieting and quieting and quieting.
Okay.
That's funny.
At this point, so,
I thought a triangle.
no, right. Let's just point out why this is happening, because I don't want us to get a reputation as just bullying Dave McKeegan for his speech impediment, which isn't what's occurring here. So, in a video response to me, Dave McKeegan dropped in a personal attack for no reason, preemptive, poisoning the well fallacy, which is to say Nathan can't convert meters into kilometers. In other words, Nathan's dumb. Okay, no worries. It's not like that's water off a duck's back, typically speaking, if it wasn't for Brian's little crusade in regards to the personal attacks that are lent on by our opponents, which, in my opinion, is pretty cruel, given that we're in the minority, right? We're generally considered to be the stupid people of society. So for somebody like Dave to just say, oh, I'll just throw in a few personal attacks, it's like, people in glass houses should not throw stones. So if you want to call me dumb, no worries. We'll call you stupid based on how you talk. Now, if you see that as unfair, well, don't throw personal attacks our way when we typically, majority of the time, are on subject matter and only on subject matter. We're not trying to poison the well against the videographers. I'll, in fact, stop people who are on the panel from doing that. No, don't get me wrong. Occasionally, some of that does slip in. But for the most part, we are trying to be squeaky clean and not do that. So, I don't encourage people to just go out and bully people like Dave for having a speech impediment. No. He's getting what he deserves for launching personal attacks against us when we've stayed, up until that point, completely on subject matter, utilising his own words against him. He didn't like it, so he called me stupid. Okay? Yeah? Well, that's water off a duck's back for me, but I'm imagining that people like Dave, who need the entire consensus opinion behind them and the financial incentive to do so, come out and tentatively make videos about Flat Earth and then throw me insults. Okay? Well, you obviously don't know me very well, Dave. Yeah, I don't suffer fools gladly, and you are a fool who can't speak properly. So that's never going to go away. You've only got yourself to blame. People in glass houses should not throw stones. Anyway, that's enough of that.
I'll try my best.
Try your best not to throw too many stones. Anyway.
To be fair, I thought he was inventing his own geometry. But we obviously know what a triangle is, 3 straight sides. These guys aren't doing that. They've got 3 points on a spherical surface. I thought that may be why he was pronunciating it like that. It's a triangle on the spherical surface.
Is pronunciating a word?
Enunciating. Yeah.
He created his own word.
Pronouncing or enunciating, is it not?
You can pronunciate for it.
Oh, well, if your
I say
pronunciation
pronounce.
is
Oh,
correct.
we're not into this. Have I got to get a citation?
No, I'm just joking.
I texted Paula last night, by the
Good.
way.
Did you grovel? I rubbed it in one of the chats when I saw her. It's terrible, really. Adam is definitely my intellectual superior, right? And I'm just going to acknowledge that here. So me putting a little jab between the ribs is essentially my own inferiority complex coming out, because I know Adam is my intellectual superior. Therefore, there's seldom an opportunity to put a little jab in beneath the ribs, but this is one via Paula. Go ahead, Adam. Tell us all about it.
When it comes, you got it. That's what I said. I said to her. I think Nathan's enjoying that so much. Yeah, when it comes, milk it, mate. I don't blame you.
Also, it did. I said this yesterday. It demonstrates the mutual respect we all have for Paula as well, which is good. Paula is somebody to be admired in that regard. She's very learned, and we do all respect her. So the fact that we were all hopping around from one little comment in the chat is just indicative of that, and it made me smile. Just shows the hierarchy that we have here, and it's very much cemented because we've all known each other for years now, right? Anyway, Adam, I think you need to make a retraction though, as we're beating around the bush a little bit.
I did refer her to I said, please go to the after show yesterday's, where I do retract my bit of trivia. I'm not able to find the reference for it, so the trivia is retracted. Paula did say to me later, though, I think what we're talking about is some kind of scholarly piece of crap, which is exactly what it was. It's kind of an Egyptian scholar work. So she didn't beat me around the head with it. She accepted that. I said, maybe you'll believe I'm not delusional. And I do remember hearing it.
I don't doubt you haven't just
so-
made it up. You don't strike me as that type of person. You've got it from somewhere. You just can't reference it at a pinch. And if you did, it's some scholarly wanker that's just made it up and referenced terminology typically associated with a biblical term, and then described it or attributed it to what was it, Egyptians and their descriptions of the sun or moon in the sky or whatever it was. I forget now actually. But you fine, retracted it. It's not even that big a deal. This is such a minor point.
It is, though. It is. We were talking about this in the after show. It is. Yeah. If I not got the humility to operate under the same standards that we ask other people to do on it, even if it's on such a little thing like that bit of trivia, you've not got the humility to do what I did, which is just to say, look, I can't prove it. I'm not going to be obnoxious and insist it's true. The rules are if you can't reference it, then you can't use it. So to me, it's important that, as silly a little thing that is, that you maintain your standards.
Or don't ever lean on citations. That's the only reason I do that is because I'm lazy. If you don't ever lean on them, you never got to produce them, right? Thanks to Flat Earth Travolta for gifting 5 memberships. Really appreciate the support. And welcome. Check out the Uncut and After Show. It comes out as soon as the live show's recorded. So, yeah, be here or be sphere on the Nathan Oakley members bit of the show. Thanks again, Flat Earth Travolta. Okay, right, should we get into this video then? A 10th was keen to only do it in the pre-show. I don't know why.
I'll tell you why.
Go on
Well,
then.
first of all, hello, chocolate.
Go on,
Hello,
Chocolate.
I got
Chocolate.
you,
heard
Just
Chocolate.
ruin the
It's about
preamble.
that day, but
4
that's
people
all good.
ruining the preamble. Let's try that again. 10th, tell us why you only wanted this in the... That's 10th Man Rising. Tell us why you wanted this in the pre-show.
Because I have a second video for you, and the pre-show started 1 hour early, and I figured I'd fill in some time, but that was impossible due to situations with your sound. But Chocolate did come and say hello. You missed it, so that's why I said hello, Chocolate.
And I didn't get a hello from the host. Where's the union rep? Is he in here right now? Get him on here.
Okay. But nevertheless, I'm going to do this anyway, if that's okay by you, 10th Man. So this is a BBC video, so inevitably this is going to get stopped and started a lot, so it doesn't get copyright strikes from BBC.
Would you like to know why I suggested this video?
Yes, please.
Yeah. They lump the conspiracy theory, we know the CIA came up with it, they even admit it. Okay. So now they're going to lump all kinds of crazy ideas into this topic called conspiracy theory. But then they'll throw in what they're hiding and lying about in there as well, as we have experienced, right? All of the things that we can go back to that the government, the media, the medical industry, you name it, has education, has lied to. And then the minute you challenge them, it's a conspiracy theory. And in this video, they show visuals of those things, but they throw it in to the crazy lot, like one flew over the cuckoo's nest or something. So this is how they control society right here.
Okay. Well, there's a link going by. So this is a BBC video. So obviously be of the utmost politeness when you go over and let them know that at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me because we responded to your video, which is called 3 Ways to Spot a Conspiracy Theory, BBC Ideas. So obviously the channel is BBC Ideas. And yeah, let's get into it.
Leap. I think we can explain it in a scientific way, so why do we believe some more ridiculous way?
Yes. We can explain in a scientific way. Okay? I mean, science does offer explanations, but if he's offering it as a juxtaposition with an alternative to a conspiracy theory, that's suggestive that he doesn't know what science is.
And of course, they spread much more readily now with the advent of social media. Who can you trust?
Well, the guy before was just talking about science, and there's no trust involved when it comes to empirical evidence. You don't need to trust anybody. You know, what we typically deal with here at Flat Earth Debate is empirical evidence, scientific evidence. And, you know, in some way, the people who are edited together to disseminate the general gist of the world view, seen through the lens of this cameraman, is that science has got a part of that, right? Well, who can you trust? You can trust empiricism.
Nathan, this is a
Yes.
good part for me to say that that's exactly the intent and outcome of why it's done, to get people to say, so confused, so many opinions, so many, well, this guy says this and this guy says this, and they both got PhDs. Who am I going to trust? Who can you trust? This is the whole purpose of it.
Shout out to Flat Earth Travolta, who says, 10th, you are a great encouragement to us, brother. You're a great encouragement to us, brother. Thank you for the super chat, Flat Earth Travolta. Thank you for gifting all those memberships as well.
I second that.
The term conspiracy theory refers to explanations according to which events in the world are caused by an evil plan.
I mean, the literal definition wouldn't be that. I mean, that's what the 10th referred to earlier when he's talking about the CIA explanation for it. A conspiracy theory, if you just take the words at their face value, a conspiracy would be a collaboration between people, and a theory, in terms of a colloquial definition, is an idea about said collaboration between people. It is just as simple as that.
Plotted in secret by a small group of powerful individuals.
It doesn't have to be small, might be large. It could be any number of people. It's just to conspire. That's all it means. A theory about people conspiring.
Individuals either.
Say again?
It doesn't have to be powerful individuals either.
Indeed.
Like, people can just conspire.
Exactly. To do almost anything. You know, and you theorizing about what they are conspiring to do would be, by definition, a conspiracy theory.
Some decades ago, there was this tendency to conceive conspiracy beliefs as pathological.
Hold on, conspiracy beliefs. See, that's something different, isn't it? So now we've got different terms. To conceive conspiracy beliefs. So what's that? A belief that people are conspiring. Okay? That as being pathological. Adam? Pathological?
Well, yeah, totally. You're actually starting to describe mental illness now, or certainly a worldview. Very different to recognizing how people can do things, to having conspiracy beliefs and that being part of how you view the world. And that's probably what they're attacking there, isn't it? We've gone to the CIA description of conspiracy theorists, which is someone who's got mental health issues,
right,
as opposed to someone that's aware of what people are doing around them.
Right, they're trying to rename paranoia like that. So it's, oh, you're paranoid because you have beliefs about conspiracy. While theory is a claim, basically. It's a claim about what's happening.
Indeed.
It's very different.
But if you talk about detectives, police detectives, researching a crime, and upon investigating the crime, it transpires that there were more than one or two people involved, then they will be investigating and developing theories about how these people conspired to commit a murder, or to commit a crime, or to commit a robbery of anything illegal. Well, they are, by definition at that point, conspiracy theorists. That's what they're doing. But because we've got this CIA idea of conspiracy, shout out again to Flat Earth Travolta, who just gifted a whole bunch of memberships, 10 of them. People have just snapped them all up immediately. Thank you very much, Flat Earth Travolta. Yeah, they're convoluting people who question narratives, and they're giving it a CIA description and labeling it conspiracy theory as a catch-all term, which is kind of frustrating.
But psychologists have shifted this. They nowadays believe normal functions of our mind explains.
So it could mean that you're a complete nutter. It also could mean, according to pseudoscientists, psychologists, could mean that you're completely normal. I mean, it could be... So that covers basically the whole gamut of everybody always, then. Okay, so you've just managed to wrap up everybody could be one of these people, right? Could be a nutter, could be completely normal. That's everyone.
That's why people believe in conspiracy.
Sounds like it.
Theories.
Conspiracy theories are shared cultural phenomena, are they? When the police are developing ideas about what happened in terms of a crime, is that a shared cultural phenomena? I just redefined a description that fit perfectly within the words and how you would agree upon what they mean. That would be to run through the Socratic method with the words that we're using, conspiracy theory. And in terms of the shared cultural phenomena of a police investigation, absolutely not. Where's this garbage from? Who's defining this crap?
Is it more of a
Go on, Adam.
Is it more of a human phenomenon?
I don't think it's a phenomenon at all. Coming up with
It's
an
the
idea
CIA.
about how people conspire.
It's the CIA definition.
Yep.
You went through the Socratic way of using the English, what the English used in that definition means, what the two words mean, and what they should mean when you put them together. But late 70s, we've all been subject to the term conspiracy theorist to imply some kind of negative intonation on the conspiracy theorist. Yeah, whatever they've come up with, the reason it's laughable is because they've been labelled a conspiracy theorist. So that term now has complete different implication to the dictionary definitions of both words and this common sense way of what those two words would mean when you put them together, has a whole new intonation.
So they're redefining words then.
Yeah, they're also putting a negative connotation upon anything that could be used against the people who this is being used against. In other words, somebody who comes up with a description of how something potentially big took place, then there's a good chance that more than one person will have collaborated. Therefore, by definition, it becomes a conspiracy. Correct? Hope we all agree. Moving on. Well, if you've got an idea about how something big went off and how more than one person conspired to pull that off, then you've got an idea about how people conspire. In other words, if you're going to question any event in any form whatsoever, unless it's a single person performing it, you could be categorized as a conspiracy theorist. And if what you're describing is an event that's been conspired upon by the people who don't want you to be talking about it, they can just brand you with this term. And strictly in the Socratic definition of the words and meaning, it is correct. However, there is a underlying further definition that's been coined by the CIA that's a lot more negative. Oh, so the quackery we peddle as being quackery and nonsense is being questioned by this person. The JFK shooting, if they're talking about how it was all a plan by the government, they are a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist. They just don't listen to the narrative that the news said about it. Conspiracy theorist. Why? Well, because they're discussing how people came up with a plan that is other than the mainstream narrative. Then you end up with the CIA definition of what a conspiracy theorist, in quotes, is. That's what we're really pulling apart from the BBC, because that's the line they're towing. Every conspiracy theory has three principal elements.
The defining features of the conspiracy theory are the conspirator, the conspiratorial plan, the sinister plan that they're trying to bring about, and the means of mass manipulation by which the conspirator is keeping the plan secret.
Okay, so their notions are anything, if you look at who would be of detriment to someone describing these things, because on the surface, what they've just described seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to want to expose if it's contextualized the way he did, which is to say, in some way, it's nefarious. That's how it's been positioned. Well, isn't that something that should be
Does he mean we
praised?
need a victim?
Yeah, shouldn't this be praised? It's like, why are we getting into the detriment of the person who comes up with these ideas when, you know, surely that there's a negative connotation to the person who they're disseminating these ideas. Now, I appreciate if they're wrong, but the automatic assumption is by way of the person disseminating them, the ideas are automatically wrong. I mean, that's the idea, that's the purpose, right?
Nathan, it's sinister.
Do you mind if I ask
And-
how
and
old
they-
is this video that we're listening to?
It's called 3 Ways to Spot a Conspiracy Theory, and the channel is BBC Ideas, hence it's getting a lot of interruption.
I'm sorry, Nathan. I just want to say one thing. The universal motive behind any conspiracy theory typically is either some type of incentive, whether it be financial, control, or domination, whatever you want to call it. And if you look at the other side, which I would say we're talking about flat Earth versus, because this is what this whole thing's about. You know, they know what they're talking about. What do we gain we really don't gain anything. There is no incentive except telling the truth to people and waking people up. Not anything else but that, to save people from being, if at anything at all, continuously stupid and falling for the okey doke. Meanwhile, on the other side, there's so many incentives. It's control, it's financial gain. NASA making whatever they say, $50 to $60 million a day. I mean, so many different incentives. So if anything, a conspiracy theorist or the theory to conspire a theory is some type of motive. So you look at the nefariousness on one side, there is no nefariousness over on this side. I mean, I can't, I mean, unless you're looking at the crooked ones that are, you know, on the fence playing sides just to get, you know, subscribers and things like that. You know,
Well,
but I'm saying in general.
I'm sure we'll get to their motivation. I'm sure the BBC will disseminate how they will stereotype us if you're going to do it, which is what you've just done, D. Rose. You've kind of categorised us within the stereotype fallacy as being these conspiracy theorists. But if I take your example, which for the most part is true, and I appreciate the sentiment, I'd say, well, no, because while you've also given it a slightly nefarious spin, what about if it's a detective and he's investigating a crime of passion that was committed by hiring a hitman? Well, you know, those sorts of things are conspiracies that have got nothing to do with money or power, necessarily. Well, in that instance, you're still talking about detectives being, in this example, the conspiracy theorists. So it doesn't jive with your example unless you, which you have, buy into the idea of the stereotype fallacy and put us in it, which is what you did.
Well, no, I didn't. I'm speaking how they speak about us. They consider us the conspiracy theorists. They consider flat Earth a conspiracy theory.
Maybe. We haven't got there yet. You jump in the gun on the video. I appreciate it, but if you're going to do that and jump the gun, you've got to qualify it by saying, in the CIA context of what a conspiracy theorist is, then, if we are to be considered that, you've got to qualify these things.
My bad.
That's
My
okay.
bad.
Anyway,
By the way,
let's press on a little bit.
It's a 3-year-old video, Chocolate.
Let's press on a little bit.
Thank you, Tom.
Sometimes the conspirator will be defined in terms of a concrete body with an identifiable membership.
Freemasons.
The Illuminati or the Freemasons, Jews, more recently on things like the Bilderberg Group, Skull and Bone Society and various other secret societies.
Okay. So in this idea, you're suggesting that we would also want to attribute a perpetrator to the lie. That's not true. There are seldom any examples that we do that. I can give you a couple if you want to pigeonhole me and stereotype me, but, you know, beyond ones that are absolutely provable beyond doubt, we don't need to attribute a perpetrator to the lie. Once we highlight that it is a lie, regardless of who's disseminated it, we even question whether or not it's fair and reasonable, once pointing out the lie, to say that the messenger is also a liar if they're wholeheartedly behind it, because they know no better. So we would even, you know, shy away from labelling anybody a power that should not be in this regard. Now, don't get me wrong, when it comes to astronauts in a sky vacuum, second law of thermodynamics violation, therefore got to be lying. I can do that. I can attribute what they say as a lie to an individual who said it. But for the most part, when we talk about this subject as a whole, someone like Math Power Land has within his name and title that he's given himself a description of what could be the reasoning or motivation behind the lies. That's to say that they're using math to lie about the land to gain more power. And then perhaps he might ascribe various different groups that have power to show that they could be it. But here, specifically here, we don't do that. So we have no need, once pointing out the lie, to A, give you a new version of events, or B, ascribe a perpetrator, an original perpetrator, to that lie. And if we did, we could only speculate, because we can't prove motivation. So here we've got a very different way of doing things. Go ahead, whoever that is.
Yeah. So, no, it's me. So when I say to someone, what we do is we study the claims that those who say we live in the heliocentric, mathematical model, no model, because they haven't got a model, but I have to say it that way these days, because every time I say heliocentric model, people say, show me the model. Well, they don't have a model. So let me start again. What we're doing is studying the claims made about the heliocentric mathematical no model model and saying, hey, this doesn't jive with logic and reason. And then people come and say, you've been watching too many conspiracy videos on YouTube. And then all this stuff happens, right? And then we say, no, you don't understand. I'm attacking the source of the material that doesn't jive with reality. And you're under the influence, and I was under the influence. Just look at the evidence. But these people are indoctrinated, and they're being indoctrinated also to think that if anyone challenges that mathematical model, that it's a conspiracy theory, and that's why they are pawns in the game.
99 people watching halfway through the show. So brilliant stuff. Please share the show. The only reason there's 100 people watching, or just under 100 people watching, is because there's people who are regular that do share the show. And as it seems to be running consistently now, 3 days solid, what an achievement. Yeah, it's nice to get a few more people watching. So if we can get up to 150 or close to it, that'd be great.
Well said, Tim. Well said, Tim.
I know how.
That was perfect.
Hold on.
Just to address
say
Danny's
something?
point. Yeah, go on now.
No, you first, because mine has nothing to do with this.
Okay, just to add to that, this is the fight that's going off now. They're trying to label us, but because we're not doing what the CIA programming has taught us, which is to go off and make our own stories of the reality, yeah, all we're doing is highlighting the lie on this side. That's why we're difficult to deal with. Because if you look at other conspiracy theorists, yeah, what happened with 9/11? It's not sufficient to say it wasn't some Arabs in a jet. We have to have a million other things. It was nukes in the base. It was thermite. It was this.
It was a directed energy weapon.
Exactly. Now, as soon as you're going there and you're ascribing what's going off in the conspiracy theory, as opposed to just exposing the lie, you become parodiable. You become laughable, don't you? You can be ignored because, as you said, it's a high energy weapon. And people can ignore it. And they ignore the fact that the lie has been exposed. We no longer look at the lie. We look at, oh, what's somebody else saying? And full distraction has been given from the event. The conspiracy has worked.
It's the ultimate okie doke.
Yep. I just wanted to say, if you want more than 150 people watching, talk about crystal balls and reincarnation. You'll have thousands.
Okay, was this a jab at Bro Sanchez?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Look, you can't assume that... How can I address this up in the nicest possible way? What Adam's just said is absolutely correct. However, it's not very glamorous. Yeah? What do people want? Well, I've been told what people want. I've been here for years. I know what people want. I don't give it to them. Now, it would be to my financial advantage. I wouldn't get paid on the 25th by YouTube and then by the 30th I'm getting a text from my bank saying I'm overdrawn. That wouldn't happen if I did some of those things. Because that's what people lust after. That's what they really want. If I gave the people in the audience now what they really want, it would be one of two things. It would be controversy within the community. They love that. They lap that up so much. They love it. The other thing would be a bit of a fantasy explanation where they've got holes currently. Yeah? Or speculation about past times and past history that might lead us into believing there's an enormous conspiracy. Now, if I was to offer them, let's just pick the second one, which is replacement ideas. So what is the sky currently? Well, it's the diffraction of the light as it passes through the... That's your current heliocentric explanation, right? Okay. It's scattering, to sum it up in one word. Once you've relinquished that explanation of why the sky is blue, you've got nothing. Literally nothing. You don't know anymore. You just don't know. Well, I could come up with an idea. Let's just put a nice little buzzword in there just to get people salivating. I reckon, open brackets, this is not true. I don't actually believe this, close brackets. I reckon it's plasma. It's plasma. That's why it's blue. Look at what happens when I do some bullshit with plasma. Look at it, it goes blue. Therefore blue. Sky, that's blue. That's plasma. Has that satisfied your desires? Has that made you feel a little bit warm and fuzzy? Has it made you feel like you can tell somebody about what it is when they question you because you take away their current explanation for why it's blue? You can replace it on the spot with my little bullshit about plasma. That'll move the conversation on nicely when somebody says, well, what is it then? Why is it blue? And you go, oh, 2 choices. Number 1, the truth. I don't know. Number 2, it's because of this nonsense that you won't understand, but I've got a head start on about plasma. Check it out. I'm a bit more knowledgeable than you about what it really is. Plasma, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Yeah? You believe me? Good. On with your day until you find out it's not true. And then you're back on a ball with a blue sky through scattering.
You know, I never used to. I appreciate that now, but I used to get frustrated and be like, why doesn't Nathan just give these people an answer? I understand.
Because I haven't got one.
You're absolutely
Because I haven't
correct.
got one. What do you want me to do? Make it up?
Well, my son tells me if you're not going to tell me what that is, then I can't even listen to you. If you're just going to look and say, I don't know.
What would people get on the show?
There you go.
Back in the day when they came here, Neil, what did they get? When I was a lot more crude and being told off a lot less from the very helpful 10th man. Right, what would they get? They'd get me laughing at them and metaphorically taking down my pants and doing a big poo on their religion that they've just crapped all over. Yeah, because I don't need to give them a replacement. That's the point. Nice conclusion. Well segued, Neil. We don't need to give an alternative explanation, and by doing so, we make ourselves look stupid if we don't really know, and we haven't got validity and empiricism to back it. If we take apart their lie based on natural law and then stop, we've won. It's not a ball. It's not a heliocentric sky vacuum. Go ahead. I'll shout out the super chat afterwards. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'll just take the conclusion that you need a replacement, and you're asking me for it when you were just arguing with me about your claim. Now you need a replacement? Thanks. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah. And as soon as you've got that replacement, plasma, you forget that stuff, that blue stuff up there is supposed to be a vacuum. You forget about natural law. You forget about the lie that's been exposed to you. And you go, maybe it is plasma. Maybe it isn't. It's not plasma. Nathan's a liar. Back to the ball.
Yeah, back to the ball. Exactly. That's the point. And it pains me because there's been points in the YouTube career. Let's just take the flat earth hat off. And when you go, well, this is an idea I could put out there. Just hint at it. And it would probably be very profitable. And it'd probably get me promoted within YouTube because suddenly there's an excuse to ridicule me or anybody on the panel. Or if I pander to somebody who comes on the panel and starts talking about mud floods, and rather than ripping them a new one and then being told that the community will turn against me and hate me, it's like, well, yeah, but now we've got a whole bunch of mud flood audience. That was profitable. You know, and to be perfectly honest, people like Flat Earth Travolta giving me $22 and saying, you know, thank you for not pandering to the audience. Well, I see my audience as worth more than that, you know, and sometimes it's not about money. You can assess these things on their profitability when you're poor, but you have to, you know where you're going and what you're trying to achieve, and know that in the long run, it serves me better mentally, not financially, to not offer up ideas and concepts when I've got no real idea about them. Arwin does it to his own mental detriment, and I praise him for it because he's the one putting in that mental grind where I'm not, to play devil's advocate, to come up with concepts, to postulate stuff so we can discuss it and have it cast down in flames 90% of the time. But those are the people that should get praised, and I don't want to decry anybody outside of flat earth debate specifically that wants to postulate an idea about why the sky might be blue. If you figure it out, please tell me. I want to know. I tell you daily, offer up your ideas on the nature of Earth. We want to hear them. It's not like we want to debunk them. It's just more often than not, they come with no evidence. It is just that bullshitter that could be part of the CIA description of a conspiracy theorist, offering up his nonsensical claims after whistling past the really useful bit, the debunking, the taking apart of the lie. It's like that bit, once I've won, I'll just cast that victory aside and move on to some bullshit I've made up. You're like, wow, shouldn't you just focus on how you've completely eradicated the sky as being a vacuum, rather than coming up with your plasma? Or your incoherent dielectric acceleration, or whatever other replacement for something you didn't need to replace.
As much as the replacements are cool, even if one is not offered up, I'm okay with that because that just lends to the mystery that is the world that I live in. And I'm okay with that. I know that there are things I will never, ever, ever know. But people aren't comfortable with that. Well, you're going to have to kind of get comfortable with that if you're going to try to keep your sanity in any way, shape, or form.
That's the thing, you see, in terms of mental health. I mean, financially, I made a decision. I'm sorry to go off on a segue. I know we're doing a video on the BBC. We should be more focused. But with 100 people watching, I made a choice a long time ago, just before I started to consider having a family with my now wife. There was a decision, a point in the road where it's like, what do we want out of life? Now, I'd earned loads of money and driven big cars and the big bucks and driven around all over the world and jet setted and earned big money. And I've now found out I was what is described in current dating vernacular as an alpha Chad, which I find quite amusing. Anyway, nevertheless, that lifestyle, I decided, there came a point where I was like, do I want big bucks or more time? And the answer was more time, because that's something you can't buy. Now, being poor was something that came along with that. You have to tighten your belt buckle and all the rest of it. But why? Why do it? Well, because you get more out of life mentally. You get more out of life in terms of fulfillment. Now, why am I telling you all this? Well, because there's a contrast to be made with our opponents. That's the anti-flat earthers. They have to be heavily financially incentivized to do what they do. Well, why is that? Well, number one, for the obvious reasons, like we're discussing with this CIA version of a conspiracy theorist. If it's the truth, and it's not necessarily to the advantage of people keeping you under control, not naming anybody at all, but the people who just control everything, right? Then you're going to want to decry it. That's obvious. But why would it be the case that financial incentive is going to be offered to your average Joe normally who's offering up YouTube videos? Well, because once you fall down the hill that is flat earth / anti-flat earth, it's the same hill, then you are troubled with not being in the right, not being able to overcome the arguments that we offer up here. Now, that's to its financial detriment. I've already covered that. But why would the financial detriment for me still be worth it? Well, because I don't have any sleepless nights over the subject matter. There's never a point that I go to sleep cursing my opponent. It's not going to happen anymore because they've never got anything over me. Now, did that happen early on? Yeah, absolutely. I lost sleep over the Isle of Man. I don't know if anybody's going to concur with me or have the courage to do so. But man, it was stressful. I didn't know the arguments well enough. I didn't know how to overcome it. I didn't realise that I was begging the question with them the entire time I did it. That's probably why it was stressful. I was losing the whole time. And it took its toll. It really took its toll. On top of everybody ridiculing you in the comments. Now, you get to the point where you go, hang on a second. It's obviously, observably, measurably, navigatably flat. All the models of a globe have come from a flat Earth. The way it functions in terms of building stuff is flat. What else is there? There's nothing else. Every road I go down leads to a flat Earth. There aren't any exceptions. You're sitting pretty. Mentally, you've no longer got anything to worry about beyond the tosser that says, where's your flat map? Or whatever it is that they come up with that you've been hearing for the last 5 years. There isn't really any cognitive stress in being a flat earther because you're on the right side of the truth. Now, the contrast is also true for an anti-flat earther. That's stressful. Like it was stressful for me at the Isle of Man, arguing within the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. It was stressful. It's stressful for them. Well, they're going to need financial motivation to keep them doing it. Heavy financial motivation to overcome the stress of the sleepless nights. Now, they come and go. Now, sometimes, obviously, flat earthers fade into known existence and just disappear off the face of the planet, because that's what you're going to assume if you're an anti-flat earther. But for the most part, people on the anti-flat earth side literally openly declare the stress they can't deal with and how they're going to have to take a break from it. GeoStreamer was an example. He literally publicly declared, I can't cope with the stress of this, I'm going to have to take a break from it. I've heard it many times, I can't give you any more examples off the top of my head. But that's why they've got to be financially incentivized. Because they are on the wrong side of the truth. That's anti-flat earthers. They can't win when they come here. That's why it's so quiet. I bet you £1 there's not a single globe believer who's prepared to open his mic and say, actually, no, we know you're dumb and wrong and I can prove it. Because they can't. 7 years, 8 years into the subject, we've won. But that means we need maximum suppression maximum ridicule, maximum demotivation in terms of financial incentive. All of those things have to be put into place. Well, we're still growing. I'm still getting 20 bucks for keeping my integrity, or 22 bucks from Flat Earth Travolta, just for saying, no, I'm not going to give you a load of bullshit lies. Well, that in itself, and the super chats and the Patreons and the GoFundMe support and all the things that literally keep my lights on, are what keep me going, because it's not down to YouTube financially supporting me and incentivizing me with ad revenue, as they do with Dave McKeegan and Simon Dan and all the rest of them. It's just down to the community who recognise what we do here. That's the only reason I keep going, because of the PayPals. That's it. That's what keeps the lights on. Well, like I say, I'm giving you all this information to get to the crescendo of, there's a point where you assess, do I go with the devil on my shoulder telling me what's going to make me more money and lose sleep over it and fret over it? Or do I go with the angel route on the other shoulder who goes, yeah, you'll sleep like a baby. You'll be poor, but you'll sleep well. You won't ever be stressed about how you're deceiving your audience into believing you're on a bloody ball flying through a vacuum. Well, I can imagine the stress, and I've experienced it from the point of view of our opponents. I'm not telling you to empathise with them. You don't have to. They're all shits most of the time. Most of them are cowards that were probably bullied at school and just see a minority group that they're allowed to bully and then take out some of their pent-up aggression on us. You know, they're fine, whatever, you bunch of cucks. Go on.
Hold on. It's called integrity, Nathan. You have integrity.
Whatever you want to call it, it leaves me very poor. But I'm prepared to deal with that. I made that choice a long time before, probably before even being a videographer. When I get told off, or cast aspersions of, because I used to work delivering groceries, that's absolutely true. That was a crossroads. I could drive. I was a rep. I had a big expensive car. I'm like, I want a humble life and a family. What can I do that's fairly menial, part-time, so I can spend time with my wife, making children and raising them? Well, that was a part-time delivery job from being a jet-setting rep for an electronics company, and visiting studios and big dealerships that had millions of pounds worth of equipment on show or being used to produce music. There's a stark contrast by choice to have a humble life, right? Well, that continues into this subject matter because I'd already made that sacrifice before doing Flat Earth. It's not like I've had to make the choice in that process. It's like, yeah, I'm already living a fairly mundane, humble life where I don't go out very much and don't have luxuries beyond probably coffee, and I smoke. Well, you know, beyond a couple of little vices, you think, no, I'm not doing anything particularly exciting, but I love making these videos for 100, 110 people currently watching. I love, this is absolutely glorious. I wake up and the first thing I do is look at my comments. Literally, this first thing I do when I open my eyes. Go on.
Hold on, before you go, didn't you say that one time you had a job where you could have given people paycheck loans, but it would have like crippled them? Correct? That's integrity, because you would not do that because you couldn't look them in the face. So I'm just back in my integrity claim.
Let me comment here, please. The subject matter is too great. The truth is needed. Your show is in its, well, let me put it this way. Consider yourself a farmer. You tilled the ground, you threw the seeds out, now you're watering and you need sunny days. We're at that place right now with your show, and as long as you've been doing it. Soon the harvest will come in, which means the very things that you are not being rewarded now, you will be rewarded then. That is coming. This is too great of a subject, a truth that the world needs, and it is growing, and people are afraid to talk about it, whether it's homes, family gatherings, churches, workplaces. We have people who got fired from their job for talking about it. We got people who are asked to leave their church for talking about it. The day of reckoning is coming, that they will all turn to this show to get the legitimate physics and geometry arguments, to where none of this conspiracy stuff will even, you'll be Teflon by then. So those days are coming, Nathan. You just hang in there.
All right. I like
And hold on, wait, real quick, Nathan, to allude and concur to what Neil said, integrity, and what 10th Man just said so eloquently. You've already come to your closure of your humbleness, your meek life, and you have everything you need. You have your family, your beautiful children. You have your peace, and you have everything you need, and you're doing what you love doing, and it's not work for you because you love doing it, and your blessings are being bestowed to you for those who support you and who love you for what you're doing. So,
Indeed.
as as 10th Man said, you're at the top of the rainbow. You about to slide into a pot of gold, and I'm not talking about
maybe.
tangible. I'm talking about that.
I just want to acknowledge somebody who's bestowed one of those
blessed
blessings
already.
on me. Hold on one second, D-Rose. Thank you very much, James Richardson, for the
Relax.
super chat. He says, the search for truth is the most glorious thing a person can do, which is probably why it's so addicting. Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Sorry to cut you off, D-Rose. I just wanted to acknowledge people who are
No, it's
doing what
okay.
you're saying, supporting me.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, James Richards.
That super chat was perfect, right on time. That was perfect. That's what we're saying. We love you. We love what you do. You love what you do. The Most High loves what you're doing. You're standing for truth and righteousness. Trust me, this is all temporary. And like you said, you may not have the Maybach and the mansion, but trust me, you got more wealth in your heart and in the future for you for what you're doing right now. Trust that and believe that.
No, I completely agree, and I'm very privileged to be doing what I'm doing, and I'd rather be doing it. Let's just put it this way, just to round out this and get back onto the video. Hey, Brian, by the way.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
Good to have you. Just so we can round this out, right? Given the choice at the start of this path, which would I pick? Being Simon Dan or doing what I'm doing? And what it would be doing what I'm doing every single time. If they're like, well, yeah, but you'll be a lot poorer and you'll be purely reliant on people's good nature and handouts, and that will get you cast aspersions upon because you'll be seen as an e-beggar. Okay. No, I think I'd rather go with the sleepful nights and the being able to, cognitively function well and not constantly fret about the arguments that I'm losing. I'm going to pick that road, and I'd rather be poor. In other words, for me, I'm sure it's not true for other people who are actually anti-flat earthers and doing it and reaping the rewards financially. For me, there wouldn't be any fun. There couldn't be an amount big enough to make me have those sleepless nights. That's the bottom line here. I don't know. You couldn't financially motivate me in any way, shape, or form to go through that cognitive pain. I couldn't do it. I know I couldn't do it. I'd eventually give up. It would drive me nuts. Anyway, that's it. Right, let's hear a bit more from the BBC. Because we've gone so far off track, I'm going to share their link again. So go and let them know. Nathan Oakley 1980 or at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Please be polite in your comment. The link is going by in the live stream chat now. So if you can, as we're live, go and do it immediately. Let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We responded to your video or whatever you want to say. The idea being, if, heaven forbid, BBC were to make a response, they would do the same and return the algorithmic love, putting my link in their video. Anyway, we'll continue.
However, very often the conspirator will be defined in much vaguer terms. The big pharma, the military-industrial complex, global elites, and so on. So they're always balancing.
Yeah, I did that. I just described them as vague, so that you've got something to get your teeth into, powers that should not be. Same sort of thing. Yeah. The idea is you expose the lie, and then who cares about the perpetrator? Once you figured out that it's a lie, it doesn't matter. Next person who tells you that lie, regardless of them knowing or not, you'll know that the information is incorrect. The messenger becomes irrelevant at that point, right?
Between the need to define the enemy and the need to accept that the enemy is always going to be shady, secret.
Yeah, you see, there's the problem. No, we don't do that here. No, you can figure out for yourself who's lying to you once you know what the lie is. Yeah, I don't have to ascribe it to the Illuminati. I don't have to ascribe it to the Freemasons. I don't have to ascribe it to government in general. Now, when it comes to someone asking a specific question about what about this particular thing that is controlled by government directly, and I can prove it, I'll say, well, the government control that. But beyond that, I can only speculate and look stupid for doing it if I'm wrong. But you want to make sure everybody in the audience knows that these people will definitely ascribe it to the Illuminati, so they know who to look out for. Yeah, there are people who do that. We're not them. Go on.
It's interesting too, because they have a flat earth religion and they don't even know it. So they're in the same boat we're in, because you get the globe from calculating things on a flat plane.
This is one of those roads I was just describing. All roads lead to flat earth. That's why I can sleep at night. Yeah? well, they don't know it yet, but that's one of the roads that eventually, if you're listening to this show, you'll appreciate. That your globe model, if you're a listener and you're a globe believer, is derived from flat Earth measurements. The globe needs a flat Earth to measure first to develop it. That sounds wild if you're listening going, what? Nah, yeah, no, yes, how it is, yeah. You need a flat Earth to make the globe model. Crazy, yeah? Yep, all roads lead to
How
flat
so?
Earth. Go on, Neil.
I said, how so? Just for the audience, how so? Break it down for me.
Your globe calculation is a differential calculator. So what it's doing is calculating the difference between surface level, which you use to establish heights of things with reference to sea level. Now, if you take that horizontal plane and calculate the difference between that horizontal plane and your eye level at elevation, then the difference between the two can give you an extrapolation of a geometric tangent point at a curved surface that's not the surface you use to extrapolate this data. Now that, named as a horizon point in the geometric calculation that is a differential between two flat planes, is called Earth curve. In other words, Earth curve is an extrapolation of the difference between two horizontal planes, the flat Earth that we stand on and eye level. Hope that was concise enough. Was that good, John? Not bad.
And also the celestial sphere model is a flat plane model. It isn't until a transformative equation is applied to it that you get any idea of living on a sphere.
What's that called? The Haberstein?
Yeah.
Shout out to Steamed Helmet. Great name. Olympic levels of mental gymnastics and dangerously high levels of copium emanating from this man and everyone on the BBC, really. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Is that steamed Hamlet? Not Helmet. Helmet.
Terrible.
And so on.
Part 2, the evil plan.
Says I.
Wow, quick shout out to James Williams for the $120 super chat. Wow, thank you very much. Just doesn't even say anything, just gives me money. Or he said something too rude and it was censored. Thank you for the super chat either way, James. Really appreciate it.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Conspiracy theorists will often argue that if you destroy a group of powerful people in the world, you will not destroy the conspiracy because the plan is the key thing. Very often that plan is going to involve world domination.
Really? Who cares? We don't appeal to the motive. Who cares why they lied? They lied. Here's the lie. Why is it a lie? Well, for this, and this reason. Well, what's the alternative to what they've told me? I don't know. I'm not privy to that information. I don't know. Well, you must tell me. No, I don't have to. Well, why did they tell me the lie? I don't know. I can't speak to their motive. I haven't got a crystal ball. I can't speak to their motivation in this regard. But you must tell me why they've lied to me. I need to know why the lie is in place. Who cares? It's a lie. The sky's not a vacuum. Why? Well, because it violates the second law of thermodynamics, entropy law. The gas that we breathe would fill that space. It would expand in all directions at high velocity, leaving us with no gas to breathe. It would just fill the vacuum. Therefore, the sky's not a vacuum. Well, why would they lie to me about the sky being a vacuum? I don't know. Who cares? It's not a vacuum.
Wait a second.
One of the
Why
things
can't you,
about the...
1 second, John. Why can't you say at that moment it's power and for land? Right? Can't you say that?
I agree, Neil. Probably next Thursday sometime, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. We'll figure it out closer to the time. Go ahead, John.
One of the things about this, why people say, well, why would they lie, is because the other idea that they're just wrong and that ignorant about being that wrong, it scares them that their leaders could be that dumb.
Okay, since I didn't come in before, I was saying, why can't you just say it could be because of power and because there's more land?
Yeah, I gave an example earlier where Matt Powland does speculate that. That's his namesake. But the point is he doesn't need to. Once you point out that there has been a lie, I can example previous circumstances with evidence like maps with the words New World written on continents. Right, okay, so we can establish that they used to find new worlds. That's how they were labelled. Third world countries, for example, now called developing countries, because it's a bit awkward calling them third world. We can also example where travelling out to the horizon was travelling out towards space. Now, while I may and can give these examples, and have, just for the sake of showing that I could, I don't, because there is no requirement to. Once I disprove by way of natural law that the sky is not a vacuum, I don't need to offer any alternative. I don't need to divine the motivation for the lie. I just need to reiterate that we're not living in a vacuum. That's it. That's the end of my part in this discussion. Speculation about the reasons, whys and wherefores, even if you have got evidence, isn't necessary.
Nathan, can I ask you a straight up question?
Chocolate first. Why would they lie, Chocolate? Why would they lie?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, that's one of the reasons why we made that, me and the Flat Earthers from 24/7 made the song, because that was usually the first response that we got from somebody that came in and found out that, you know, what they believe was a lie. And the first thing they would ask is, but why? But why? We're just like, well, don't focus on the why. Focus on the fact that there is a lie. And that's the lie we're talking about. That's the problem. The why, we could all take care of that later when we all figure out that we're talking about a lie. But that's the reason behind the song, was that we got that response so many times and we were like, what the hell? You know? Go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry. I'm done.
No problem. I just want to get this on the record. Straight up question, Nathan. Is your show on physics and geometry, is the motivation so that one day you could be the ruler of the world?
No, I don't want to be the ruler of the world. Why would you ask that? But is my show, yes and no. Right. Yes, the show is about geometry and physics and the nature of Earth. That's physics, physical reality. Right, but is it about me becoming the ruler of the world? Although I drop that in, but no.
Well, you just heard the BBC saying this is because they're positioning this conspiracy theory as someone wants to take over the world.
No, they're suggesting that we, as conspiracy theorists, postulate that the reason for any dissemination of an idea of people conspiring to cause any event ever is because of the people we are attributing or ascribing as the perpetrators and their lust for power, not our lust for power as conspiracy theorists. I think you've slightly missed what they're trying to disseminate in that regard. But anyway, we're going to get into the after show. So with that, I'll say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ Panels for making today's live show possible. But of course, a massive thank you to all of you for smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hitting the super chat, hit me up on PayPal and all that good stuff that keeps me going and keeps the lights on. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!